Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at a new tier 10 destroyer, Fuyutsuki, which is insane. Okay, we outspot a Sherman, then we go to gunboat him. We use our 50% reload booster on Akazuki guns. He shoots at us, and then we use our Italian exhaust smoke to instantly go dark while our teammates continue to keep this Sherman spotted for us. All the while, we have a 50% reload booster up on Akazuki guns. That's a Sherman, okay? Sherman's a good gunboat. We took like 2,000 damage from him, and he's, well, with a little blind firing, hold on. He is going to go down. This ship is crazy, okay? This is a bit like Shigure, if you remember that torp boat that had the exhaust smoke off of the Italians. I found that to be extremely powerful, allowing you to instantly go dark whenever you got into trouble, or, like we did here, you could bait the enemy into shooting at you. That way your teammates could keep them spotted while you instantly go dark in your smoke. This is extremely powerful gimmick. What happens though if instead of having that on a torp boat, we then gave it to a very powerful gunboat? Oh, and by the way, then we'd also give it a reload booster. This is crazy. Although we do need to use our reload booster at the right time. Maybe not when the Yamagiri is about to go dark. Anyways, pushing in, we will go after this Gato. And usually, if you guys know me, I am not pushing submarines, especially in the early game. Well, a little gap opened up here that maybe allows me to. The enemy team is kind of on the other side, or the Hindenburg and Satsuma are kind of caught behind the island. What happens, though, if we happen to over push into the enemy team, assuming there's no radars? We can just go dark whenever we want to, assuming we have this smoke available to us. In this case, I'm going to try and get a little greedy to use my torpedoes. These are 4 torpedoes, so it is like Akazuki in that regard, but they are the Hirugamo torps, the 12 kilometers doing over 23,000 alpha damage, and we still get this reload booster. Oh no, a new trick pops up. Doesn't matter though, because we have our smoke available to us. This is an insanely powerful gimmick, okay? And one of the reasons I think that Regulo, the Italian tech tree tier 10 destroyer, has such massive downsides in regards to its concealment and its gun range. What happens if we have solid gun range? What happens if we have good concealment? This is 6.2 kilometer detect. I think this is one of the key factors when playing Fuyutsuki that I found that made it so much stronger than Regulo. I am not much of a Regulo enjoyer, if you guys remember. So I was wondering, why was I having so much better time here with Fuyutsuki? And I think it's that concealment. Regulo has 7.2 kilometer detect. How can we make use of this exhaust smoke generator and maybe forcing the enemies to open up at us and then going dark when the enemy destroyers have like a kilometer and a half window where they can spot us before they are going to get spotted? Fuyutsuki pops up and it's at 6.2 kilometers. Even if you're a good torp boat, Shimakaze 5.6, if you're caught bow into that, you're probably going to get lit. And as soon as Fuyutsuki opens up, you're probably incentivized to open up yourself, allowing us to more easily take advantage of this smoke generator. And that's just nothing to say of the ability to have a 50% reload booster in your back pocket as well. So we have like 192,000 HE DPM here base, same as Kitakaze, and then we can double that effectively for 15 seconds. It absolutely munches through destroyers. If we're running Yamamoto, then we are getting first bloods, allowing us to get even more of these consumables. Synergizes very well with the buffed Yamamoto, by the way. However, there are some downsides. This ship is incredibly slow. So if you are one of those Regulo enjoyers and you love the ship for its incredible speed, especially with that engine boost up, that really interesting playstyle of swapping between in an exhaust smoke and then having a really powerful engine boost up while you're on the smoke's downtime, that could be fun for you. Fuyutsuki's not going to deliver that. The ship is very, very, very slow. We have that unfortunate 33 knot top speed and no engine boost. Akazuki at tier 8 at least has an engine boost to help it out a little bit. Not gonna happen here. The maneuverability as a result is not amazing. It means that this ship caught open water, caught in a position where it has to stay lit, it can't instantly go dark, it will take a lot of damage. So this one is gonna require you to have some decent game sense as to where you can and cannot aggressively push those destroyers. If you understand that, this ship is It's kind of ridiculous, the power level. If you know how to look for radars, you know how to be patient, wait them out, figure out where those counters are, you can easily win an entire flank for your team almost on your own. All you would really need for help from your teammates is simply them existing on your flank a little bit. Because, of course, once we're in our smoke, we're not spotting the enemy ship. That is the big downside here. If you find yourself in situations where it's only a 1v1 and there are no teammates around, this smoke isn't actually going to be that useful. You need a teammate nearby that when the enemy does shoot, that means their gun bloom bursts out to their normal gun range, and you go into your smoke, then you will be able to keep them lit, and that way you can get the damage on. For example, here, this Fletcher would go dark instantly as soon as I smoked up. Now, the torpedoes do a good amount of damage too, but that would be a situation where we could not use the smoke necessarily. That's the challenge with Fuyutsuki. Incredible toolkit, but getting the most out of it, especially solo, you got to be really on point with your positioning and where the enemy ships are as well. Now then, as we go for the world's most slowest motion YOLO rush, 30 knot YOLO torps. We're going to go for it. How do we get this ship though? It is going to be sequential bundles in the armory. And at the very end of these sequential bundles will be the ship available for 1 credit. However, those sequential bundles for doubloons add up to 50,000 doubloons. So that is what it's going to take to get this tier 10. We've seen this before. That's what Conti Verdi was, just straight Admiral purchase for 50,000 doubloons. In these sequential bundles, though, are Japanese Squadron premium containers. And as you buy your way through, you'll get progressively more of them. There are 11 bundles total, and the 11th one contains the ship. The first 10 all contain increasing number of these Japanese Squadron premium containers. So in total, you will get 50 of these premium containers out of the sequential bundles, and each one of those containers has a 2% chance of dropping Fuyutsuki. So if you get all the way to the end where you did not get the ship to drop in any of those containers, it's 50,000 doubloons effectively. And if you did happen to get it to drop out of one of those containers a little early, well, you happen to get a discount. At least that's kind of how I read this event so far. We do manage to get 1 set of torps on a Fondator. Yeah, maybe not the best YOLO ship, guys. Just putting it out there. Maybe we should use our smoke for this sort of situation, huh? Ushakov is in a spot where he'll spot this gearing. We smoke up right away. The gearing opened up, and look at how he spotted. Every other destroyer, pretty much, I mean, there are a few with this exhaust smoke generator, they have to slow down to stay in their smoke. So there's this period of time where the destroyer is spotted, slowing down, easy target to hit before they go undetected. And by slowing down into the smoke also, it's a little easier to do the whole blind fire idea. This ship is insane, okay? I don't even think it needs the reload booster, to be honest with you. I think giving a good concealment gunboat destroyer the ability to have Regulo's exhaust smoke gimmick is more than enough. I think this would have been more than enough without the reload booster. With it, I mean, you just one-shot destroyers pretty much, assuming there's no radars. This game in particular, we were going after the destroyers and did not get a ton of damage. Notice the spotting damage though. We still want to play that role, and being exhaust smokes, less of this stationary idle farming destroyers, we're incentivized to maybe play a little more open water, play to spot enemies. This also was because I was on the Rhode Island and Contaverdi flank. I had to wait till my teammates dealt with that before I made that full send push. Oh look, another gearing. We basically spot them almost at the same time. 6.2 detect versus 5.8 on a gearing is pretty similar when we're pushing towards one another, and the lag with this spotting system. And forgive the aim, this was, I think, one of my first games in the boat. I apologize. We will eventually get him with that fire. Jinan close by, Amagi and Ki here. This is not the strongest flank for the enemy, so we will be able to push down this flank and maybe do some farming of these battleships, although a little scary to push into where a Jinan is, perhaps. So I'll likely stay a little further away from him while my smoke is on cooldown. The other thing to consider is that if we want to farm, we need someone spotting for us, okay? This is a general problem whenever you're playing the farming smoke destroyers, is when you're alone on that flank, as, I mean, look at our flank here, right? We are the only destroyer here for a while, and so we need to do all the spotting here. This key is very low, and perhaps greedily, I'm eyeing my second kill with the buffed Yamamoto, 5% DPM buff. Minor little heal as well, wouldn't be bad. He goes dark because he's behind the gearing smoke. Our smoke is about to come up, so I'm not too afraid of opening up so close to the Amagi, for example. But it's worth mentioning that this ship can be a good farmer, but you do need to have that spotting element. And if you're the only destroyer on a flank, then it's going to be a lot harder to accomplish that. Because again, a 33 knot destroyer that is somewhat large. This isn't the largest destroyer at the tier by any means, but it's still a pretty large DD, and it's very, very slow. It's very easy to hit as a result. So open water gunboating with this ship, kind of ill-advised, I would say. I tried it some here. We're playing against tier 8s, okay? We can get away with a lot in a tier 10 ship against tier 8s, of course. Notice also how many shatters I'm going to be getting. This was early on, so I was trying to maybe not run IFHE. Nah, we'll talk about the build at the end of this video, of course, but IFHE is definitely the one to run on this ship. It just gets you so much more consistent damage, and given the low fire chance anyway, you're still getting a similar number of fires. We'll also notice that I get quite a few fires in this battle, but not a ton of fire damage, not even close to a witherer out of this one. Using our reload booster again here in a way to light a fire. That is my goal here, okay? A little greedily, perhaps, holding on to it until the Amagi damage controls, and then I want to get those permanent fires. Usually, I'm going to hold it for the destroyer fight. It's far more important to use it on that to win that engagement, and then you can go farm the battleships and all that and spot out some of the cruisers. We're getting within 10 kilometers of a G-Nan smoke, pretty scary, unless our teammates are able to take him out, for example. But if he was to turn to us, then our smoke is up, so again, I can go dark very quickly. This smoke, by the way, is a 40-second action time, so pretty long duration for a destroyer. It's not going to be like a gearing smoke, or even just like a normal Akazuki, Kitakaze, Harugumo smoke to sit and farm in. But for something so versatile that allows us to move at top speed, it's pretty good duration. The cooldown time is also quite nice at 100 seconds, matching up perfectly with our reload booster. So if there are a lot of destroyers on your flank, or the enemy DD does not just instantly vaporize to this smoke reload booster combo, you get it back every 100 seconds. The smoke times up perfectly with this reload booster. Dealing with this is going to be very, very challenging. I mentioned the Regulo earlier, and I want to go back to that ship, as this is the same sort of gimmick where you want to get into the gunfight, the enemy ship opens up, and then you get to go dark because of your smoke, while the other guy does not. It's just so much easier to do it here because of the concealment. The 7.2 kilometer detect, or even like 8 kilometer detect of a Barbiano, which also has a similar gimmick, it's a lot easier for a destroyer to just simply avoid that ship when they see it coming. They got a lot more lead time or heads up of when that is about to happen. 6.2 kilometer detect is far too close for the average 5.8, 6.0 kilometer detect destroyers that we are usually going to be fighting for cap control and flank control. The other thing though, is that I am playing this ship early, right? Everybody's getting the knowledge of what this ship is about with this video and whatever other videos the CCs are making. Definitely go check out some other CCs video if you want more good perspectives on what this ship is about. But generally, that's when people figure out what the new ships are all about. Most people aren't digging deep into dev blogs to try and understand every new ship. So it could be that there is just a simple surprise factor that when someone sees this ship on the enemy team, as I was playing it, they weren't aware that it had like over 400,000 effective DPM for like 15 seconds and could go dark at will on those engagements. Like, if you don't know that's coming, yeah, of course it's going to look pretty good. So I should mention that as well. However, I think that element of concealment matters a lot too when it comes to this ship, and will make it a little bit more effective at consistently pulling off this gimmick compared to something like Regulo, where it takes a lot more effort to catch a destroyer off guard with that ship, given the concealment difference. However, the speed is worth mentioning there when it comes to Regulo, and if you get caught in a bad spot where you do get radared or you do get hydroed and you cannot get out of that, well, Fuyutsuki is going to die very, very quickly, right? If we're pushing up, taking that destroyer engagement aggressively, like I have been in the clips in this video, notice we're like 6 kilometers from the destroyer a lot of the time in those very early aggressive engagements. usually that's going to mean we're 10 kilometers from the cruiser. If that cruiser radars us and we're caught 10 kilometers from a radar cruiser, a tier 10 radar cruiser, and we're a somewhat large, slow, not very maneuverable tier 10 DD, we're gonna die pretty quickly, don't you think? So this ship really, really lives and dies by its ability to scout what the enemy team has, know that it's not going to get countered, and that way it can play it more aggressive. If you do push up without realizing what is on the enemy team first, you get surprised by those radars in particular, this ship is going to die very, very, very quickly, okay? It only looks this powerful because we are taking advantage of that very special gimmick. We go dark immediately at full speed and then use the reload booster while the other destroyer is still spotted by our teammates because of the destroyer's gun bloom after firing. If you can manage that, Fuyutsuki is absolutely incredible. As an open water farmer, I don't think it's that amazing. You can make it work, certainly, as we are doing here. Shoot at the Vermont until we see that he's turning his guns for us, and that way we can use our smoke to go dark, that kind of thing. But if we're caught open water, we don't have this smoke available to us, it's very easy to hit this ship and then take a lot of damage. So it's not going to be like a Kleber where you can run around open water gunboating. We're probably not doing that in like Harukumos or Akazukis or Kitakazi that much anyway. Perhaps only when the enemy team is distracted and allows us to farm for free, which then Fuyutsuki can do a good job. But it's not that Kleber, it's not that Kaba or Dalny sort of role where you're just always shooting and the enemy shoots back and you can just easily avoid it. That is not the situation here. Fuyutsuki is controlling the game via taking out enemy destroyers very, very aggressively. And then from there, trying to find opportunities to farm, as we did in this game a little bit. But for the most part, I will say while playing this ship, the games were over pretty quick. Either I was dead quick to something like radar and trying to play overly aggressive, or we would take out the enemy destroyers so quickly that the enemy team would just fold. So a lot of blowouts. Perhaps the ship like this one will contribute to that sort of thing, in that if it takes out the enemy destroyers very quickly, well, you'll probably get a blowout win rather quickly. If you go down early because you were over aggressive, then your team is left without a DD, and maybe the blowout goes in your team's defeat. Which, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of blowouts these days, so just thinking about that now, I'm not so sure about this boat. Hopefully I'm wrong about that, and we won't see a bunch of Fuyutsukis full YOLOing in and either wiping out all the DDs in front of them or instantly dying themselves. That would be not great for the matchmaker. Okay, here is the build that I sort of landed on here. I didn't think the extra smoke time was really that necessary. This isn't buffing our reload booster, so I did drop that. I wanted consumable specialist, but as you guys know, we need preventive maintenance, keep our engine and our rudder alive for maneuverability's sake much more often. Last stand, similar reason. If it does happen to get knocked out, we could still use it a little bit. Survivability expert, of course, we need more HP. We actually have a little less HP than Akazuki does base. We only get 20,300, unfortunately. So we need all the HP that we can get as we are trying to aggressively take those fights. Concealment, pretty much required. Like I said, the extra conceal the ship gets over like a Regulo allowed me to more easily take advantage of this smoke and burst gimmick. IFHE I found necessary for dealing more consistent damage. That one could be dropped though, I think. Adrenaline Rush, very, very, very powerful. And then I also wanted Main Battery AA Specialist to further buff our DPM in those crucial engagements. I think winning that destroyer engagement off the bat, that early engagement against the DD is so important for this ship and its flank that I want all the DPM that I can get. And I know we already get a ton out of the reload booster. And then taking demo to offset a little bit of that fire chance. We still get 4.5% fire chance, seems fine. So that's what I went with. You can mix and match though, certainly. Upgrades are basic. Okay, this is pretty standard stuff, so don't need to go over that too much. The 44-second smoke duration, totally fine in my opinion, so I didn't want that extra. Missing out on Superintendent hurts. I was running Superintendent instead of IFHE, if that's what you were wondering. And that was nice to get more of these consumables, but I found it better to get the more consistent damage out of IFHE in the situations where I was using my burst. The other reason is I was often proccing Yamamoto's Emergency Reserve for getting the First Blood achievement, okay? This is a pretty easy one to get now that it is both kill or assist. So in getting that early engagement on a destroyer, getting that burst fire in, even if your teammate gets the final hit, you're still getting this activated on that assist early game. So that's just another whole consumable charge for you. If you don't have Yamamoto for this, maybe Superintendent could be a little better, but I found that getting to 5 reload boosters with this cooldown, trying to optimize them a little bit too, I was not getting good value out of Superintendent. I would rather take IFHE. Now, I will mention a few other things about this event. You will be able to buy these special premium containers outside of the sequential bundles. I'm not sure why you would, but they cost 1,250 doubloons each. Just go for the ship. If you want this ship, just go for the sequential bundles. Assume it's going to be 50,000. Don't assume that you're, oh, I'm going to get lucky. Come on, bro. Take a good look at yourself in the mirror. It's going to cost you 50,000 doubloons. Someone on social media or Discord is going to post they got it in the first crate, but you, no, you're unlucky. I'm sorry. I am too, okay? It's going to be 50,000 for you. I also will mention that there is one container, one of these premium containers available for coal. So everybody gets a roll for 25,000 coal if you're willing to spend that much. However, there is a holiday convoy event coming up with a bunch of rare premiums, new ships coming back that you can earn grind for free, including spending coal on them. So maybe not as worth if you're a little bit tight on coal given that holiday convoy event. Oh, and I should have mentioned this isn't this camo sick? I should have mentioned this way sooner. The lacquer camos are always absolutely amazing on these Japanese ships, and it will come with the ship in that final sequential bundle. So you do have to spend that full 50,000 doubloon sequential bundle to get the lacquer camo with the ship. It's not an RNG drop, which personally I like, but if you're someone who gets the ship early on in the RNG boxes, then the camo will not be there for you. It'll look like this, a little bit of a lime green camo, I suppose. And the alternate is a little more muted, like the standard Japanese perma camos. So I think that's about it for Fuyutsuki. I gotta say, I had a really, really good time playing this ship for this video. That is likely because this ship is so ridiculously powerful. For game balance, I think it's a bit of a nightmare wargaming. Did it even need a reload booster? I don't think so. I think a solid gunboat with that ability to go dark at will and the concealment to push up to a lot of these hybrid and torp boats without getting spotted like a Regulo might. There's not a lot of heads up here for a Shimakaze or for a Gearing, and that's pretty scary. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments down below. This is the new tier 10 premium Fuyutsuki. Watch out if you are playing destroyers. Thank you very much for watching and have a great rest of your day.